full transcript of the October 13, 15 Cobra interview. Cobra, The Disclosure Chronicles, The Creation Part 1, an interview by Prepare for Change, October 13, 2015. Lynn, welcome ladies and gentlemen to another episode of www.preforchange.net radio show. I'm your host Lynn, chair of the healing group at www.preforchange.net. Today my co-host is Richard, a longtime member and contributor to www.preforchange.net. If you appreciate our shows that are on caring subjects to support your health, well-being, spirituality, environment, governmental and society subjects, please go to www.preforchange.net and use the donate button in the right-hand column to help support our worthwhile organization. To begin with, I would like to recognize the members of this media team that make this show a success. Donnell for her transcription of the show, Rick Serafico for his skill at editing and voice modulation, my brother Aaron for his technical ability with the audio recording, and Doc for his beautiful contribution of our theme song, Voices of the World. Today's special guest is Cobra 2012 portal.blogspot.com. If you're not familiar with Cobra, please go to www.preforchange.net and listen to the archives of the first show of the series, Introduction to the Disclosure Chronicles. Today we will start with some current event questions and then move into our series entitled The Disclosure Chronicles, in the Beginning. Welcome Cobra to our show number 2 in this series. Okay, so we'll start with our current event questions, Cobra. Okay. Lynn, yesterday on Monday, October 12, Benjamin Fulford reported that the U.S. military took over the Federal Reserve Board. Can you verify that this is a true report? Cobra, I cannot confirm that information. Lynn, okay. If it is correct, I'm happy about that. Cobra, I would not say this is correct at this point. Lynn, many changes in the Middle East this month. It seems that the main terrorist-sponsoring countries of the planet such as Israel, Saudi Arabia and Turkey are being isolated. The entire American military might is retreating from the Middle East, and the Russians seem to be taking over the entire area and crushing ISIL with force, killing their leader within 2 weeks of bombing them. Why has all of this shift occurred in such a dramatic way? Cobra, it has been planned in secrecy for quite some time. And it had to be done in the right moment, and the right moment came, and Putin was able to deliver his speech to the UN. To prepare the international silent support for his mission. The long planning of the Eastern Alliance to make this happen. Lynn, so this really wasn't all of a sudden, it was planned out. Cobra, it was not all of a sudden, it was a part of the long-term plan. Lynn, okay. Great. Can you tell us what the purpose of the White Dragons are related to the liberation of the planet? Cobra, the White Dragons is an umbrella term that actually describes various dragon factions. And each of the dragon factions have their own role in the liberation process. Some of them are more political, some of them are concerned with the creation of the alternative financial system, and some of them are doing more spiritual work in the transformation itself. Lynn, I have a second question about the dragons, and it's on the gold dragons and the blue dragons. Can you define their differences and their specific roles? Cobra, I would say that the blue dragons are the spiritual side. They are the ones who have been contacted by the Agartha network many hundreds of years ago, and their spiritual power comes from that connection with the Agartha network. The gold dragons, or I would say the yellow dragons, are the ones trying to bring positive change in the political structure in the East, and gradually with their connection for the Templars also in the West. Lynn, thank you. Is it true that government employees that have moved over to helping the light forces, are they being replaced by AI? To keep the Cabal agenda going? Cobra, no. Lynn, so none of that is correct. Cobra, no, it is not correct. Lynn, wonderful. Okay. How would you define cloning? Cobra, Cloning is a process where you can create an exact genetic copy of a certain living being by reproducing DNA and also manipulating DNA in a way that can create the improved version of the old original. So it's both. It's a exact copying and improved copying of the original. Lynn, do clones have normal feelings like curiosity and concerns like normal humans do? Cobra, clones are not much different from regular humans because in a cloned body you need to put a soul, so cloned body without a soul is just a piece of bad meat. You have to ensoul the clone by putting the soul, a living being, into that body. Lynn, is cloning negative or positive? Cobra, depending on the purpose behind it. It can be both. Lynn, do clones have souls? Cobra, I have just answered this question. Lynn, what is an artificial soul? Cobra, artificial soul does not exist. Lately there was a lot of fear-based material spread about AI. Artificial intelligence in reality does not exist. It is just a computer program that always has to be operated at a certain level by a living conscious entity. So in fact AI is a term that is a contradiction. Lynn, can a real human soul be implanted by forcing of technology into a clone? Cobra, it is not a soul that is implanted but the personality which is ensouled is being implanted. Various energy bodies can be implanted and unfortunately the physical body also can be implanted. Lynn, what is the average lifespan of clones? Cobra, depending on the quality of a clone, but it is no less the quality of a being on the surface of the planet. Lynn, will you point out the main psychological, physical and spiritual differences between a normal human being with a soul and that of a soulless clone? Cobra, a soulless clone do not exist. You always need to put a soul being into that body. What people term as soulless clones are actually robotic beings which have already been removed from the surface of the planet and from below the surface of the planet. Lynn, okay. Thank you. Since organ transplant technology is so advanced nowadays, why not a brain or a heart just be transplanted to a clone to extend someone's lifespan? Cobra, that of course is possible with advanced medicine, but even that has become redundant because we have replicators below the surface of the planet that can actually regrow the original organ in its perfect condition. Lynn, wow. If, say it was for a brain, would you get memory back with a brain? Cobra, memory on a higher level is not associated with the brain. Memory is stored in the soul body. The brain just transmits the memory from the soul body into the physical body. So the memory in the soul body is always complete. And of course you can regrow the brain to reconnect the physical body with that memory. Lynn, I have some questions concerning the country of Mexico. What is the plan of the light forces to end the massive drug trafficking there? Cobra, it is very simple. It is part of the plan for the event. They will arrest the cabal agents. They will arrest the Jesuits and the drug trade will be over. Lynn, the next question deals with why is this country so corrupt and violent? Cobra, actually, Mexico, a long time ago was one of the major reptilian strongholds on the planet. Lynn, so were there occult reasons behind this unusual concentration of evil in this country besides the obvious drug issues? Cobra, basically it was a reptilian stronghold and the Jesuits have misused it, and Jesuit influence in that country was quite strong in the last, I would say, 3 or 4 centuries. Lynn, when do you foresee the system changing and turning for the best benefit of these people? Cobra, at the time of the event. Lynn, okay. I knew you were going to say that. Of course. What advice would you give to all those desperate people who live in Mexico and around the world so change can happen sooner rather than later? Cobra, I would suggest them to focus upon the light, to work on themselves, to do whatever they can for the planetary liberation and to study the process of manifestation, because if they understand the process of manifestation, the laws of manifestation, they can improve their lives significantly regardless of the conditions they have at this moment. Universe is full of infinite possibilities and it's always possible to get out of the current situation if you know and understand the laws of creation, the laws of manifestation. Lynn, great. How much influence upon our lives do the archons currently have? Cobra, still quite much because they control the mass media, they control the food industry, They control the energy levels to a great degree, but your free will is always superior. Lin, are there archons that have been awakened recently to prevent light workers and light warriors' success and to prevent planetary liberation? In other words, is there an increase in this lately? Cobra, like archons awakening. Yea, to the light? Lin, it is confusing. I would interpret it as if they are awakening and preventing the light workers and the light warriors from being successful at the liberation of the planet. Cobra, they have been doing that since they came here many millennia ago, so this hasn't changed. Lin, so this is old stuff. Cobra, it's happening all the time. Now we have to finish this, that's all. Lin, having come across physical archons living here on Earth, and the positive nature so-called guardians, in other words, working for the light. There is confusion and maybe misunderstanding that there was only 4 physical archons of Italian nobility currently present on Earth. That does not appear to be so. Can you tell us about these Earth archons, especially the guardians? Cobra, okay, it's again confusing various things. Archons are not of the light. Archons are not guardians. There are still some physical archons in the black nobility families, Italian, mostly some of them are German black nobility families and from other nations, but they are losing power daily. Lin, okay. Is there such a thing as a true-born Earthling? We all know about star seeds, light workers and light warriors that have agreed to incarnate here on Earth and help the process of liberation of the planet and ascension. They come here from other stars, perhaps other galaxies. But why is there this huge discrepancy between them and the rest of mankind? Cobra, it is simply because the star people that have come from other star systems have experienced higher dimensions before, whereas the mass of humanity have never experienced ascension. The mass of humanity is growing towards ascension for the first time. Lin, so there is such a thing as a true-born Earthling that hasn't had incarnations in other places. Cobra, the vast majority of people on this planet are in that category. Lin, okay. With all of the dark forces joining the light forces, how can we trust them? Cobra, okay, it is not the surface humanity who is doing this sorting process. It is a very skilled light workers and light warriors of the light forces from this region of the galaxy, and they can read the thoughts, they can read the aura, and they know exactly what the motivations of those previous dark ones are, and their motivations are completely transparent, so there are no mistakes here. Lin, okay. Can you tell us anything about this supreme powerful reptilian being that is known as the Queen Bee? Cobra, what would you like to know? Lin, I think they just want a general description, the history of this reptilian being and what is her purpose and anything that you can tell us about her. Cobra, at this point I would not release information about particular reptilian beings for various reasons. Lin, okay. It seems to be that there is a huge number of reptilians living among us. Some, a small majority, are here to help us, working for the light, but great numbers in showbiz, be it musicians or actors, appears to be hybrid reptilians. Is this true? Cobra, yes, this is true. Lin, there are people that want to know about microchipping. I'm sure this is related to implants. Cobra, can you tell us about the current status of microchipping? Cobra, okay. Microchipping is no longer a problem. It was a big problem decades ago. Actually, microchipping campaign began after WWI, after the vaccination campaign of the WHO's late 1940s. 1940s, and the resistant movement has neutralized all the microchips, so they are no longer active. Lin, wonderful. This will make a lot of people happy. There are places around the world where cities have been built at or below sea level. Do we stand a chance that these cities could at some point be swallowed up by water? Is it possible we will be given a warning before this happens? Can you give us an update on the physical Earth changes? Cobra, the light forces, especially the Galactic Confederation, has stabilized the Earth grids to the extent that there are no drastic Earth changes are expected, especially not before the event, so people don't need to worry about this. Lin, great. What efforts can and should be made to contact various public figures to facilitate the creation of an alliance or a coalition? Cobra, it is very encouraging for people to try to reach out to those public figures, and hopefully some of them will respond, because that would give much powerful at the moment. Lynn, would it be beneficial to inform and important to reach out to these individuals at the time of the event in hopes for them to assist regarding information dispensation? Cobra, also, yes. Lynn, I wanted to add here that PFC.net is partnering with a company called COEO to help register and help people around the world find groups in their area and meet with and prepare for the event, and also to do the weekly liberation meditation. So if people out there would go to www.preforcange.net and take a look at the participate area and sign up. Lynn, does the shift at the Fed mean funds will be cut off to detrimental cabal corporations? Cobra, okay, the shift of the Fed has not happened yet. When the shift of the Fed will happen, it will be the moment of the financial reset. Lynn, alright Cobra. That is the end of the current event questions. Now I'm going to have Richard go ahead and ask you in the beginning questions. Okay. Richard, hello Cobra, very nice to meet you. Cobra, nice to meet you too. Richard, thank you very much. My first question would be, what is the source? Cobra, the source is the universal field of consciousness, it is the one. Richard, what is the prime creator? Cobra, the prime creator is the source, it is that field of consciousness from which each has projected parts of itself into the primary anomaly to understand it and to resolve it. Richard, what is the difference between the prime creator and the creation itself? Cobra, the creation, to define universe as the creation, is an interaction between the source and the primary anomaly. And the source has projected parts of itself, sparks of itself, into the creation to resolve and to absorb the primary anomaly back into the source. Richard, how did the prime creator come to be? Cobra, the one always existed, it never started and it will always be. Richard, thank you. What are prime creator's goals? Cobra, the goal of the one is to heal the primary anomaly and for all the parts of its consciousness, for all the divine sparks to return back to the source. Richard, does the prime creator judge? Cobra, no. Richard, beautiful. How does the prime creator create? Cobra, actually the word creator is not absolutely correct because the source does not create. The source interacts. It projects sparks of consciousness into the primary anomaly, and this fusion of two different elements creates the creation. Richard, I understand, thank you. How can we learn to create reality? Cobra, by understanding the laws of creation, and the laws of creation are very simple. Creation or manifestation is precipitation of your will through various dimensions towards the physical plane, and if you align all aspects of your being with your divine will, that divine will be manifested on the physical plane. Richard, that's sort of a process you have to go through then. Cobra, I would say the electric fire of your own consciousness. Richard, can higher beings create matter through thought? Cobra, exactly. Richard, do all humans have this ability? Cobra, all ascended beings have this ability. Richard, okay. Do all humans have the ability to manifest reality, to create reality? Cobra, yes, but that ability is not fully manifested. It's just a potential which needs to be exercised. Richard, are we really the source in physical reality? Cobra, yes. Richard, without going into too much detail, how did we forget we were the source? Cobra, we forgot because we were subjected to too much of this primary anomaly, and excessive exposure to the primary anomaly made us forget. Richard, I understand. How do we become the source again? How do we regain those physical abilities and the memories? Cobra, by connecting our higher self with our own soul, and that connection will recreate our link directly with the source. Richard, thank you, that answers my next question. What is the best way to connect to the spirit source, to best build a relationship? That would be to connect with your spirit. Yes? Cobra, each person has own individual way to connect, but there are some universal principles that is focusing upon the light, connecting with the beauty, and using your own will to make a decision to have that connection with your own self, with your own soul. Richard, thank you. Is it true that every spirit is a part of the main source? Cobra, yes. Richard, what is the purpose of the spirit? Cobra, the purpose of the spirit is the same as the purpose of the one, of the source. Richard, I understand. When you have a connection to your spirit, what does it allow you to do physically and mentally? Cobra, when you have the connection with your spirit, you are able to live your life according to the laws of manifestation. You can shape your life according to this, and you can do your mission, you can do your part in the process of planetary liberation. Richard, thank you very much. Does the spirit make you smarter, or does it give you information? Cobra, it makes you wiser, not just smarter. It boosts your intelligence, but not in the linear way only. It boosts all your creativity, all your talents, and makes it easier for you to carry on with your mission. Richard, great. Thank you so much. How can you tell when you have a spirit connection? Cobra, when you have your spirit connection, you manifest aspects of spirit like beauty, love, inner power and light, and many other attributes of the spirit. Richard, I understand, thank you. What is the spirit world? Cobra, the spirit world is a manifestation of the principles I have just mentioned. Richard, okay. Would the spirit world be considered heaven? Cobra, yes. Richard, thank you. Are there evil spirits? Or are they souls of good spirits who still need to grow? Cobra, evil is a free will which has chosen to oppose the beautiful, oppose the love, so it is free will which has turned into the other side. Free will which has chosen to expand and enlarge the primary anomaly. That free will can do that only when the soul connection is lost. Richard, how do we balance the masculine and feminine energy within ourselves? Cobra, by connecting with both and having them interact with you. Richard, what is enlightenment? Cobra, enlightenment is a process of reconnecting with your own divine spark. Connecting with your own spirit, with your own divine spark, your own soul, and even deeper and higher aspects of yourself. Richard, what are the signs of enlightenment? Cobra, enlightenment has one of the most important signs is that you know who you are. You don't have that question, who am I, because you know, and from that knowingness you can create everything else. Richard, okay. What is the difference from the physical creation and the spiritual creation? Cobra, the physical creation, as you know, is the last manifestation of the ideas that were born on the higher planes. The spiritual creation is manifestation of the same ideas on the spiritual planes. Richard, thank you very much. There are 4 laws of creation. Would you mind explaining them to us if you can? Cobra, this is just an arbitrary description of how people understand the laws of creation. You can condense this into 1 law, 2 laws, or 3 laws, however you wish, so I will not give mental ideas here how to interpret this. I will just say that people need to focus on their own direct experience, through their own enlightenment, their own experience of their I Am presence, and everything else will come from this. Richard, thank you. You're welcome. What is a universe? Cobra, it is the total of all manifested creations in all dimensions. Richard, are all of the universes the same? Cobra, there are actually bubbles of space-time which are emerging from the vortex of interaction between the source and the primary anomaly. Richard, what is a galaxy? Cobra, a galaxy is a vortex which is growing out of the central portal, which is the galactic central sun. Richard, how many planets are usually in a solar system? Cobra, usually there are about 10 plus or minus planets in the average solar system. Richard, okay. Do all planets all have 1 sun, or could there be more? Cobra, I would say that double or even triple star systems are quite common in all the galaxies. Richard, can you describe what other planets and advanced civilizations would look like? Cobra, they have similar compositions to what we have in the solar system. Smaller planets tend to be more solid. Some of them have oceans, liquid water. Most of them are rocky. The larger planets are usually gas giants, similar to what we have in the solar system. Richard, thank you very much. Is it true that the life on Earth was brought from our universe? Insects, plants, animals? Cobra, yes, life was not born here. Life came from beyond. Richard, from beyond. Thank you. Can you just give us an example of what ET life, like on a daily life would be on another planet. Cobra, actually, now as the most universe is liberated, most beings experience whatever they do it from that frequency of divine love. They originate all their actions from that frequency, and therefore their lives are full of joy and beauty and harmony, and they do not experience this intense conflict that we have here on this planet. So their lives are very, very beautiful. The only problem they have is when they look to this planet and they want to help, and they feel the agony and suffering of beings here. So this the major focus and the major problem in this universe right now, to completely resolve this primary anomaly and this hostage situation that we have on this planet, and then the whole universe will experience huge cosmic leap that everyone is looking towards. Richard, thank you very much for that. What do most extraterrestrials do? Do they have jobs? How do they spend their day, other than what you just said? Cobra, they don't need to have jobs because they can create everything whatever they wish from their advanced technology. They focus on their creativity, they focus on exploring the universe deeper. They advance their science. They advance their spirituality. They connect with each other. They create. They have a good time. Richard, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Cobra, they don't have this slavery routine. Jobs on this planet are part of Orion. This is not something that is normal. It is not considered normal in the rest of the universe. Richard, why do they just show up every once in a while and leave? Cobra, they cannot just show up because the Strangulate bombs would be triggered and that would lead to drastic consequences. The Strangulate bombs would go off, they would be detonated. Richard, why did ETs used to run tests on humans? Cobra, they were actually blocking the nukes. They were developing technology to completely block all nuclear weapons, so this has been achieved to a great degree, and now nuclear threats have almost been completely removed. I would say 99% and more removed. Richard, are there ET species that have the same level of consciousness than humans? Cobra, I would say that the level is the same, but the quality is not, because those species are not exposed to the chaos and negativity we have on this planet. So they have a much higher quality of life experience. Richard, how many species of beings would you say are there? Cobra, there are few major archetypes, but there are billions upon billions of various species of ET lives. Richard, how is life as we know it? Plants and animals created? Cobra, it is a guided evolution by angelic beings, and this guided evolution was not without trial and error, because the primary anomaly is involved in the process, unfortunately, to a great degree. So there were many errors in the evolution from the past. But now the universe is getting wiser and wiser, and there are less and less of those errors and more of the wisdom is present, so life forms that will be developed in the future will be much closer to perfection. Richard, wow, thank you. Do all living things have souls? Cobra, all beings have souls. There is no being without a soul. Even animals and plants have a soul. It is a good soul, but yes, they have a certain higher presence. Without that presence, evolution is not possible. Richard, I understand. Is that the same for minerals and water and rice and stuff like that? Cobra, there is a group consciousness, a group soul being essence that waits for the right time for those minerals and water to awaken to a greater degree, to evolve further into the plant kingdom, into the animal kingdom, and then further on. Richard, wow. Thank you so much. What is meant by co-creators? Cobra, every being in this universe has an I Am presence which can create. And that creation is always interacting with other free wills, and that is called co-creation. Richard, beautiful. Thank you. What is the purpose of our sun? Cobra, the sun in the solar system is a portal that connects the whole solar system with the galactic center, and it is the source of the energy for the solar system. Richard, what is a galactic sun? Cobra, the galactic center is a portal which actually brings life force to the whole galaxy and guides the evolution of the light streams in this galaxy. Richard, what is the name of the Earth's galactic sun? Cobra, of the galactic sun, yes. I will not release that name yet because it's a very powerful name, and its invocation of that energy, many people are not ready for that yet. Richard, it sounds amazing. So is there a universal galactic sun, or does every galaxy have its own individual central sun? Cobra, every galaxy has its individual galactic central sun, but there are even nodes of extragalactic nature, like we have galactic clusters, and there are usually a central galaxy that has a central sun which connect and embraces all the galaxies in that galactic center and that galactic cluster, and there is the universal central sun which is connected directly to the source. Richard, is the galactic sun where the wave of energy is going to be released for the culmination of the event? Cobra, yes. Richard, that's about all the questions I have on the universe and the galactic sun. Richard, this is more questions on volunteering and consciousness. Just a quick question about yourself. Did you volunteer for this mission? Cobra, I did volunteer for the mission many thousands of years ago, but I didn't understand what I was getting into. I didn't know what this would look like. Richard, how did you find out about this mission here on Earth? Cobra, I didn't find out about this mission here on Earth. I knew I had a mission I have never forgotten. Richard, was there a call that went out into the universe asking for volunteers to come to Earth to help in the changes? Cobra, yes. Richard, can you go into detail on this? Where this call came from and how it went out? Cobra, that call went from many sources. One of them was the consciousness of the planet itself, Gaia herself, because at a certain point the light forces weren't going as it has been planned, and the call went out to the various star systems, the most skilled light workers and light warriors, to assist in the resolving of the situation. And it was always known it was a risky mission, but it was never known how exactly this would play out. Richard, I have another question. As you were saying that I had many energies running through my body. Can you tell me what those energies are? Cobra, usually I am not answering individual questions regarding individual spiritual development. Most of the time people need to make inner connections and answer those questions themselves. Richard, you have actually done this on other planets? Or should I say your spirit has done this many times, liberating, making the changes you have come here to make, your mission? Cobra, I have been involved many times in the galaxy, but it has never been like this. Richard, I understand. Thank you. How do you raise your consciousness? Cobra, you raise your consciousness by connecting with your own higher self and with the source. Richard, are there levels of consciousness? Cobra, yes, of course there are levels of consciousness, and each of them corresponds with a certain vibrational frequency of your various energy bodies. Richard, what is collective consciousness? Cobra, unified field of all consciousness of every person involved, and usually this term is used for the surface population of this planet. Richard, so you would also say that every species have a collective consciousness for that specific species? Cobra, yes. Richard, thank you. What is the soul evolution? Cobra, a soul evolution is a process through which soul grows and begins to understand more its position in this universe and its relation to the source and to the creative universe itself. Richard, okay. How does a soul evolve? Cobra, the soul evolves through experience and through increased connection with the source. Richard, what's the purpose of soul evolution? Cobra, the purpose of the soul evolution is to return the soul back to the source. Richard, what is ascension? Cobra, I will not answer this question yet because it's a very deep question and I need to answer it properly, and when the time is right I will release intel about the ascension process through my blog. Richard, thank you. I was trying to get to, how do you prepare yourself for ascension other than the popular hold love and light? How do you prepare for ascension? Cobra, okay. I will make this simple. Connect with your soul. That is the main answer. The main answer is not to change your DNA, it is not to activate your light body, but it's to connect to your soul. Richard, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for saying that. Is there more than one ascension process for the soul evolution? Cobra, there is one ascension process and that is enough. Richard, we live in the lower dimensions right now. What would the next group of dimension be like? What would you do there? When we get our consciousness, when we get back our full consciousness and we leave this realm to the next realm, I'm just wondering what we have to look forward to. Cobra, okay. I will describe this in detail when I will post intel about the ascension process. Richard, thank you. As the soul progresses, do we just go into human life or do we go into animal life? Could we live as other species as we evolve? Cobra, when you have progressed to the human life you never go back to the animal life again, and most of the star people have never experienced an animal lifetime. So we will just return back to our magnificence of our soul presence. Richard, what is sin? Or is sin something that was made up by religion? Cobra, sin is a concept which has been invented by the archons to control and suppress the spiritual development of the surface population. Richard, what is vibrational frequency? Cobra, vibrational frequency is the frequency of rotation of, I would say, the permanent atoms as they are called in the various spiritual bodies of our constitution, of our being. Richard, okay. What is the purpose of vibrational frequency? Cobra, it is just the description of a certain physical process. The faster those atoms rotate, the higher the vibrational frequency is, the more you are connected to the source. Richard, I'm going to go to the next group of questions, which is about our galaxy and more details of where we are right now. How is a galaxy created? Cobra, the galaxy emerges from the portal of the galactic central sun. It's like a bubble of energy which explodes in space-time, and that matter which is being born through the portal of the central sun that rotates as a vortex around that center. And when the galaxy evolves, it usually evolves into a spiral galaxy, which is a fully evolved galaxy. Richard, do ETs believe in the Prime Creator? Cobra, the ETs do not believe, they know. They are connected with the source. Richard, are there good ETs and bad ETs? Cobra, we have all experienced good ETs and bad ETs in our lives. Richard, okay. For these negative ETs? Was this a choice on their part? It's a choice they actually made. Cobra, yes, it was a choice of responding to the primary anomaly. Richard, where did evil come from? Cobra, the evil came from a decision to oppose the light. It's a free will decision which is made as a result of interaction between free will and the primary anomaly as I have just described it. Richard, why do people suffer? Cobra, people suffer because they're exposed to the primary anomaly and because they are exposed to the conditions that are a result and a consequence of the mass sum of all negative decisions that were made on this planet. Richard, I understand. Before we come into this lifetime, do we choose who we are? Do we choose our life? Do we choose where we're going to be, what we're going to experience? Cobra, we have made our initial choice to come into this area, but when we came here we were actually imprisoned and our choices were quite limited. We did have some word in our incarnations where we will be, but the vast majority of choices were made by the archons. They have given us a limited scope of choices and they have enforced many conditions that we would have never agreed to. Richard, what are chakras? Cobra, chakras are vortexes of energies that actually transmit flow of prana in various energy bodies. Richard, thank you. Do we need chakras? Cobra, yes. Richard, what is their purpose? Cobra, as I've said, their purpose is to transmit prana. They act as portals and each chakra is a portal that connects us to a certain specific vibrational frequency that is needed for that part of the energy body to operate. Richard, how do we cleanse our chakras, or is that recommended? Cobra, there are various techniques, I will not go into details here. But generally you can cleanse them with the violet flame of the Master Saint Germain. Richard, there is a lot of confusion. Do we actually activate our chakras? Or are they already activated and we need to learn how to use them? Cobra, there is a way to assist in the chakra activation. One of the aspects of this is to remove the blockages and distortions from the chakras, and the other aspect is to allow our consciousness to help the chakra to operate properly. But this is quite advanced and most people have read a lot of disinfo on internet about this. There are not many qualified practitioners that know how to assist people to activate their chakras properly. Richard, what are the best ways to lose fear? Cobra, the best ways to lose fear is to go beyond your comfort zone. So if your fear is fear of heights, to expose yourself to a little bit of that. If you're afraid of flying with a plane, to expose gradually to this. By conquering your fear you're becoming stronger. Do not deny your fear. Acknowledge it but then go beyond it. Richard, how do we lose doubt in ourselves? Cobra, by knowing yourself. By knowing your motivations, being sincere with yourself and integrating parts of yourself. Richard, what is the best ways to lose anger and hate? Cobra, anger is frustrated inspiration. You are angry because you want to do something and somebody is preventing you from doing it. So if you channel this anger in constructive ways, it can be a very powerful tool for the planetary liberation. Richard, how can we work on our judgment towards other people's and towards situation? Cobra, simply by understanding that they went through hard times somewhere in the past and they simply don't know how to behave better. Richard, thank you. How can we work on losing jealousy and envy? Cobra, simply by understanding that each person has their own mission, their own position in life and their own position in the human society and nobody can replace nobody else. Richard, Cobra, what is the purpose of life? Cobra, the purpose of life is to find a way back into the One. Richard, what is the etheric realm? Cobra, the etheric plane is the plane of creation which is less dense than the physical but a little bit more than the astral. It is the energy plane. Richard, what is the astral plane? Cobra, the astral plane is the plane which is a little bit less dense than the etheric plane. It is emotional. It is an emotional energy field. Richard, how are ascended masters able to work with us? Cobra, most of them work with our consciousness. They inspire us to connect with our soul and they support us in that growth by sending us the energies of love, support, illumination and empowering us to become more of who we really are. Richard, that was beautiful. Thank you. How do we work with these ascended masters? Cobra, by directing with them. By communicating with them in our consciousness as you would communicate with a good friend. Richard, thank you so much Cobra. That is the last of my questions. Thank you so much for your time. Cobra, you're welcome. Lynn, thank you very much Cobra for all of the answers that you provided today. We will continue with a part 2 of In the Beginning on our next series. We invite questions from our listening audience and they can be submitted to the website and I will post that upcoming, before the next interview. Cobra, okay. Very good. Lynn, Cobra, is there anything you would like to say in closing? Cobra, yes, I would like to put this again. It is very important now for everybody who wants to have this planet liberated to join our forces. This is one of the critical elements of the planetary liberation. Lynn, I agree. Thank you so much. Cobra, thank you for the interview. Lynn, very good, until next time. Richard, Cobra, thank you so much. Bye-bye. Lynn, thank you for being with us for this hour. Please join us each Sunday night on BBS Radio Station 1 at 9 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That's adding 7 hours to UCT time. Shows can be heard in the archive section of the media tab. Please remember that PFC is a volunteer group. We survive by donations only, so look deep within and if you feel so guided we encourage you to go to www.preforchange.net website and donate an amount you can afford. This will assist us to continue our work in www.preforchange.net global movement. We thank you for your generosity and your much-needed show of love and kindness. Remember, we are all voices of the world.